Clara looked nervously as they stepped into the Adventurers Guild. It was busy and loud, and completely foreign to the cleric. In the short time she had been traveling with Adam, she had learned much, how important they were, and she wanted to contribute too. That is why she approached the counter, while Adam stood at her side. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, let's look at a staple of many fantasy series, the Adventurers Guild. Let's see what the real history would be like, and how it might operate. Guilds are well documented throughout history. The earliest recorded ones were in India before 3800 BC. They were found throughout Rome, but became very prominent in medieval Europe. But what were they? A guild was a professional association of a trade, and there's a good chance that many of you are part of them. Tell me, do we have any electricians in the crowd? Well, you have the National Electrical Contractors Association. Or what about doctors? A National Medical Association. Yes, those are conceptually what guilds are. A guild determines who is permitted to make and sell products. They dictate a professional level which all members must meet, providing quality control, and could provide some political influence, but they could also create problems, price control, and prevents competition. It could be used to prevent foreign influences. They could do a lot. Generally, there are two major types of guilds, merchants and craftsmen, one for selling and the other for making things. Most guilds require government approval, normally from the crown itself. So establishing one could be difficult, and you may require some influence to get it going, or get someone with money to fund it. A guild could just be one town or a national level. How they operate vary from guild to guild and time to time. Generally, if you wish to join one, you had to put up a membership fee, and there are tiers. Normally, you'll start as an apprentice. Usually, it was the third child and on, which would be apprenticed out, as the eldest son would be the one to take over the family farm or estate, with the second being close by. Your apprenticeship would start when you are 7 or 8, and you would live and work for your master. You were paid in room and board, and this would last for years, normally ending around the age of 20. Afterwards, they would be able to apply for the journeyman rank. Now, you could work for any master and get paid. By this point, you should know most of the skills of the trade. I'm sure many of you have heard the term masterwork. That was a task which showed that you were ready to be called a master. If you were a master, you could own your own shop. But to do that, you had to join the guild. You could also take apprentices. Now, a guild can help support the members and their families after accidents, but that only makes sense for merchants and craftsmen. Adventurers are in fact closer to a mercenary guild or free company. A mercenary is a fighter for hire. A free company is a band of mercenaries which will fight alongside an army. They are interested in money and other rewards, not the politics of the world. These individuals would go from conflict to conflict seeking jobs. They may fight wars, defend caravans from bandits, or in other times become the bandits. The range of jobs they did is wide. Overall, this sounds like the closest thing to the guild adventurers would join. Mercenary bands don't really have ranks. They have reputations for their tenacity, skill, and cruelty. For them, it was their name which held the weight. They relied on word of mouth and personal requests for their services. So, how should an adventurers guild function? In most series, we see a large building with counters, where receptionists meet with adventurers and hand out quests and rewards. It also serves as a meeting area for adventurer parties. How practical is that? Well, the traditional merchant and craftsman guild system doesn't work well here. What would their apprenticeship be? Would they have ranks? In most fantasy series, people make requests of the guild to dispatch dangerous monsters, explore ruins, collect resources, and other such work. Would each party just take the jobs they wanted? Could a brand new party just take a job to slay dragons? No. That would just get them turned into ash and a stain on the ground. So we definitely need a ranking system. I don't think doing apprentice, journeyman, and master works. The guild would benefit from additional divisions. Now, apprenticeships doesn't make any sense here. An apprentice is there to learn from a master, right? At least to one starting so young. Now, having a minimum age limit for adventurers makes sense. Probably between 15 and 18, depending on the setting. Having the older adventurers teach sword fighting, marksmanship, survival tactics, tracking, and a few other necessities for an adventurer. Would they go with rookies on a quest? Well, we need to figure out what a rookie quest might be. Most likely, simple fetch quests from around town. These ones probably don't get paid much, a couple of coins, but you could pull off a dozen or more in a day. They may move up to clearing out the sewers and collecting herbs from the forest. Low risk and low reward. Potentially, as they start taking more dangerous quests, a more veteran adventurer would tag along, not helping until things go wrong. And we all know that they will. The reason for this is twofold. 1, to prevent losing a novice party, and 2, to judge their skill. Sure, when an adventurer completes a quest, it would make sense that they need to make a report, but there could always be those that cheat. Someone says that they did something and didn't. That is why adventurers will need to bring proof of their deeds. The judgment of a quest can help to tell when they should be promoted. And that brings up the guild master. Who should be on top? Ideally, you would think a veteran adventurer would be ideal, except that adventurers are fighters, not known for their bureaucracy, and that is what the guild master is dealing with. Thus, a more bookish adventurer may work better. A wizard or a bard. Remember, the guild master may have to deal with the king at times. And this brings up an odd topic. Could you have 2 ranks? An individual rank and a party rank? I'm sure we've all seen it before. A bunch of idiots who can't seem to operate on their own, but together are an elite force. Or a group of elite warriors that can't operate when put together. And this is why I feel that you should have an individual rank and your party rank another. Who funds it all? Let's be honest. Many of the quests that an adventurer guild gets won't be grand, and this business will have a high operating cost. So there are a few options. 1, like an apprenticeship, a guild could offer housing based on rank. For many, that is a large expense, but could work here. There are a couple ways to get money. Those making the request can put up a bounty, but often they won't have much to offer, so it may be more than just money they offer, such as food or craft goods. In addition, the crown may put forth a share of the reward. Remember, adventurers are taking out monsters, which otherwise the military may have to do. But another option is the monster's corpse, being sold and used to fund the operation. If you bring home a mountain of gold from a dragon hunt, the guild may be fair to ask for a portion of it, a finder's fee. Now, in medieval Europe, there were dozens of guilds. A sword maker's guild, a knife maker's guild, and so on. So, could a fancy series have multiple adventurers guilds? A monster hunting guild, a rune delving guild, a bodyguard guild, a farming guild? Yes, they could, but there is an issue. Could you change your specialty? And here's the thing. Adventurers need to be able to adapt quickly. If you plunge into an old tomb and deal with traps, then a monster pops up. What do? Fall back and bring in a party just for the monster? No, they'll charge in, and take its head. Adventurers go on adventures. While each guild or party could have something that they excel at, they need to adapt to whatever is thrown at them. But what about the freelancers? Some idiot who gets dragged into things bigger than himself. There could easily be some animosity with such individuals. They would still exist. But the reason that people may prefer the guild and potentially higher prices is they are more reliable. If they take a job, it will be done. Yet we do have an issue. What happens when an adventurer travels to a foreign land? Will their association with the guild carry over? It may depend on the relationship between the two nations in question. This could end up being part of treaties and negotiations, which means it may require you to pay for a guild membership in multiple nations if things aren't great. Clara looked at the small medallion on her neck. It recorded all information about her. She sucked her lips as she realized the dark truth about it. Her medallion was as much meant to work as it was to tell others who she was if she perished on a quest. Walking over to Adam, she showed him her first rank. Her own quest as an adventurer was about to begin. With a smile, she picked their first quest. The guild system can be very useful in organizing adventurers. It would easily help shape a fantasy world and aid in quelling the dangers. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for the Blemey. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.